Well, Roland, once again, good morning. Good morning to Honorable Kokofu, and good morning to our cherished viewers, especially the very good people of the Tamale North constituency. I think that we are playing with fire. You know, I feel very uncomfortable following the discussions ever since the story of this alleged coup plot, you know, started. And I'll tell you why later. But in the broader light, I see a subtle return to the culture of silence. I mean, you can choose to downplay it, you can choose to rationalize it, but the writing is on the wall that we are living in dangerous times where it is very difficult for one to freely express himself or herself, especially if that expression is not found to be palatable with the government of the day. You can list some of the things that have already happened, either by the use of regulations to shut down critical media that are found to be unfavorable of the government, or even banks on the mere basis of fit for purpose, you know, tests. And the fact that people are said to be not to be fit for purpose because they're undergoing a trial that is supposed to assume or make us all assume that they are innocent until proven guilty. But by regulation, because the person or the people don't look like red, blue, and white, you have regulations being used to just frustrate their efforts. Talk about Ahmed Swale and how he lost his life after the #2 expose. Talk about what even Anas had to go through as a result of that documentary. Talk about your own former colleague, Manasseh Azure, and how for the first time in our history, you know, a civil society organization had to take him abroad, you know, provide him with security and all of that for simply doing what we have all been doing all these years, especially after we said we had come out of the, you know, culture of silence. So the writing is on the wall that certainly we are returning to the culture of silence. It's so disturbing, and for me it brings back memories of discussions that we had long before, you know, the current president assumed the reins of power. The cautions that a lot of people, even some very close to him, you know, said about the intolerance levels and how some of it even manifested in his own political party, how because the chairman and general secretary did not agree with his ways of managing the party at the time, they had to be shut up, they had to be silenced, they had to be chased out. And so when you see some of these things happening under his presidency, and yet you are supposed to accept that he is, you know, a champion of human rights, he's a lover of free speech, you are not able to reconcile, you know, the happenings on the ground with, you know, some of these things that we are told he is a champion of. Now, to the specific issue of the coup plots, Roland, there are two things that stand out for me. I think that as a people, we are not angry enough.
You mean we should be...
Look, apart from this subtle return of the culture of silence, there is a danger in there for those who have always considered themselves to be apolitical in this country as a result of what is happening. It is as if now in this country, you have to declare where you stand, either with the NDC or with the NPP. When you are with the NDC, then we treat you as opposition member. If you are said to be apolitical and say the things that apolitical people have said in the past, you are at risk. I mean, many people who have considered or described themselves as apolitical have described our democracy as not representative enough of, you know, the wishes and aspirations of our people. And they have asked for something better. In fact, some have even asked for, you know, the third alternative. Some have said that, look, the NPP and the NDC are not providing the needed, you know, kind of governance. And I'm saying they're neutrals. And that I'm saying that if you listen to what is happening with Agordzo, for me, those people are in danger. If they are not seeing it, I am drawing their attention to it. Because now, if you say that NDC and NPP are not good, the signs are not looking good, and people may be angry, and we may have an Arab Spring on our hands, then you are a suspected coup plotter. And so many people have said this. Look, you can go into our archives. If it is about the Arab Spring, look, the Vice President have said this. The President, when he was in opposition, talked about the unemployment levels and how that could lead to an Arab Spring. Chairman Wontumi said it. Which NPP communicator, before 2016 elections declared them as winners, did not think that situations were rife for an Arab Spring in this country? In fact, many of them just didn't think it. They uttered it on media platforms. So why has it all of a sudden become, you know, prohibited? It's become criminal for anybody to, you know, say such a thing on a platform, that the conditions are right.
You think such categories of people are being hounded?
That is exactly what is happening, Roland. And I think that, look, we must be careful. That is the first, you know, problem that I see, that perhaps many people are not, you know, averting their minds to. The fact that those who have always considered themselves neutrals, those who have always considered themselves apolitical, are at risk of expressing the reasons why they consider themselves neutral and apolitical. Because once you do, and the government doesn't find it palatable, the conclusion may be that you have some ill motive towards the, you know, government. And you can be invited for questioning and perhaps even incarceration in BNI cells. The second issue, Roland, that gives me sleepless nights, ever since especially Agordzo was picked up. Look, let us not play with some of these things. As a country, we have a history. We have a history. And if it is true what they say, that history has a funny way of repeating itself, then our state institution, the government in particular, must be very, very careful with how they handle this matter. They must be extra careful.
Why?
They should not conduct themselves in a way that they will become a security threat. Because a government can become a security threat to a nation by its conducts or, you know, misconducts. And I see a misconduct in this case. I am not saying that if you have suspicions about people plotting a coup, you should not, as a government, you know, investigate.
Because it looks like so far there's not been any interference by any political head or political figure within government. You see, I am not saying that if you have suspicions about people plotting a coup, you should not investigate, you should not try to defuse what are you
it.
saying?
But I'm saying you must do that very, very carefully in order not to detonate.
Is that why the courts are there?
In order not to detonate, you know, what may already be a volatile situation. And I talked about a history that we have that should guide us. Look, I may have been young, but when I look at Agordzo, when I look at the processes, Roland, I get scared, especially of what has happened before in this country in the trial of Jerry Rawlings. That led to the uprising. Let us be careful. For all you know, Jerry Rawlings' coup wouldn't have been popular, but for the conduct of the government of the day and how he was put on trial. Let us be very, very careful. And let us also remember
what conditions
that history,
are there that seem
history
to
has a funny way. Look,
situation.
whether you like it or not, unemployment is very high in this country. Whether you like it or not, people are very suspicious of our government and our political leaders of today. Whether you like it or not, there is a lot of apathy towards officialdom in the country today. And so if the government or political leadership does not conduct themselves in a way to convince everybody that indeed there is, you know, a threat to the security and peace of this country, but make it come across as if this is a witch hunt of a free-spirited man who speaks about the challenges that they go through every day, you will be amazed.
You're sounding like Duncan.
You will be amazed. You'll be amazed.
Like
you'll be amazed at the eruption of support that these people may have. And so I think it is important that our government is cautioned that they must not conduct themselves in this matter in a way to become a security threat to this nation. I am just cautioning our government. Because you see, we are all in this boat and we arrive at the bank together or we sink together. And so when I see these things happening and I caution, it is not because I want the worst to happen. God forbid. We all must keep this country intact. Even in its deficient state, it is better to have the democracy that we currently enjoy than the alternative.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Honorable.
Yes, Honorable.
Roland. Good morning to the President and the entire leadership of